Welcome, everyone, to the Aspen regular City Council meeting of July 28th. The month is just about over, and we are happy you are here, and we are so happy we had rain this afternoon. We call the meeting to order, and Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Councillor Benedetti. Here. Councillor Doyle.
Here.
Councillor Guth.
Here.
Councillor Rose.
Here.
Mayor Richards.
Here. Thank you. We have no scheduled public appearances today, so we will move directly into citizen comments and petitions. This is a time for people to address council on items that are not on tonight's agenda, and you will have about 3 minutes. Please identify yourself for the records. Please, Francis.
I'm Francis Stuckins. That's for the record. Hi there, Mayor Richards, members of City Council.
Welcome.
I'm really pleased to be here. We had a big month starting on July 1st. I was part of the Climate Curve Prize. Kudos to Jackie Francis and the Climate Curve. I saw their first award show with Seth Meyers. You heard of that guy. Thank you, Dave Cook and Megan Thackett at the Aspen Daily for the Report for America, new reporter. It's a national thing, and it has a lot to do with our environment here. And what we can do in Aspen. Speaking of sustainable packaging, still looking for it across the board here, like at the gas station, city market, stuff like that. You know, some of the stuff recycles, not much of it composts. And again, looking for some kind of grant from City Market for composting bins and recycling bins. That'd be really cool. Mall of, I almost said Mall of America, and then I just did. 50 years for the pedestrian mall. That was a great gig. Thanks again. Aspen Institute, Summer Words, and Aspen Words. I was part of the workshop there. Really cool. I think I'll get published one of these days. The executive leadership seminars and Aspen community programs are great attributes to the community. Starting to break out into a sweat here. And KD&K broadcasted the 55th Mountain Fair in Carbondale. That was fantastic. And I got to do a 4-hour extravaganza broadcasting the show on KD&K. My green cuisine license is renewed. I'm now semi-retired from Carl's Pharmacy, but still part of the community, and that's really cool. Now, the last thing is bike safety. Ring the bell on your left. Not many people do that, and there's crazy speeding on the e-bikes. And sometimes they don't say a word and they go whizzing past you, and you know, I might be waving my arms or something.
That's your 3 minutes.
That's it?
Yep, that's
I
it.
think I got it all.
You got a full report of our whole month. We really appreciate that.
Thanks for listening, and see you in the future.
We'll see you next time. Thank you. Former Mayor Tory, come on up here, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mayor and councilors, thank you. My name is Tori. I live in Aspen. Staff as well. Hello. I just want to pick up where Francis just left off. As a matter of fact, are there any discussions going on with the county about regulating bike safety, e-bike usage? whether it's in city or whether it's in county and trails?
Yes, through both RAFTA, the county open space and trails, and their rangers and our rangers, we are coordinating. We have new messaging out. They are stopping and actually issuing citations to people for not paying attention, as well as our APD are paying attention to this. But it's you can't be everywhere all the time, and we absolutely know people are not following the rules. They've been working with the bike shops and telling them to really make sure people sign and understand public safety.
I appreciate that. I think a lot of people are concerned about it. You know, when you're downtown and you see like 3 kids squeezed onto one bike, not wearing helmets, it gets a little concerning for all of us. But I'm here for a different reason. You know, a couple things I want to say. One is, you know, to me, good governance isn't doing something, it's doing the right thing. As well as you are elected to be representatives for your community. You're not elected about personal agenda and the like, but really to represent the community. And the latest article in the paper regarding the entrance to Aspen has convinced me to be here tonight, just to share once again my view on this. You know, some good modifications have been made to the original preferred alternative plan, but it hasn't gone far enough. I still believe that trying to get a 5-lane entrance plus shoulders, that's 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out, as well as a transit corridor, and the shoulders in through the end of Main Street is just the wrong approach to this. There's a much better, more elegant solution, one that maintains our character a lot more, one that avoids potentially 2 traffic lights being added to the end of Main Street. And if we're talking about safety, then for evacuation reasons, having 2 bridges, one that allows you access to McLean Flats and one that goes down Highway 82 would seem to make a lot of sense. It's no surprise I've talked more about the modified split shot before, and I really just think that it needs consideration. You know, when this council decided to go away from the direction the previous council was on with evaluating really the best solution and going back to the preferred alternative to try to reaffirm it, of course, making some modifications. Again, my suggestion to you is that really adding 2 traffic lights and a 5-lane entrance to the end of Main Street through what is now a residential neighborhood. We ourselves have put residents on that corner, that very corner. It's just not the right solution. I hope you guys will really think about the direction you're going. Work with CDOT to get a community character enhancing solution for the entrance to Aspen. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tori. I appreciate your comments, and I really would like to say that when you began with the new council, with Sam and Bill, I came in to say that if you wanted a different solution, you should start a new EIS. And you did not. You chose not to. You chose to say, hey, let's just study a 3-lane bridge for a year and a half without screening it through an EIS process. And had you, well, pardon me, pardon me.
ahead,
And
continue.
if you had started a new EIS at that point in time, you could have looked at this modified split shot at that point. But it really was only when the community survey went out and the Jacobs Engineering had screened the 3-lane bridge idea and found it would not hit NEPA screening standards or quality, that the idea of a modified split shot came back up again. And there was an opportunity when you were in leadership to try to bring that forward. This is not just the council's direction, it is the community's direction from a vote that was held a year ago, where they said, please move forward with the alignment we have identified.
I have to say, I feel like you're choosing your narrative there. That is,
And I feel you're choosing yours.
That's really not exactly what happened, and I didn't even go into that process that you were part of years ago. So I appreciate your comments back across the table. It's not normal for a mayor to rebut in this style, but I appreciate it. But I think your narrative's a little off.
I think yours is the same.
We didn't spend a year and a half studying the 3-lane bridge. That's not what we were doing. We were trying to find the best solution. That was one opportunity or one option that was looked at, but that was not the only option. Instead, this council, under your leadership, chose to go away from that, about looking for that, doing the EIS that you even requested, and has changed direction to go singularly after the preferred alternative. Once again, all I'm suggesting to you is, you've already accepted some of the modifications. I think you should just keep going. You have the opportunity in front of you to make a really great decision and impact for this community, or it can go the way that it's going, which I have to tell you, it just doesn't seem to pencil. And if you look at the renderings of it, it's quite evident. There is a better solution out there. Thank you so much.
Tony, you must be next.
Do I need to be a referee tonight? Okay, two things before I make my comments. One, when Tory was mayor, Jacobs Engineering did start an environmental impact study. And then secondly, voters did not choose to go with the preferred alternative. The ballot question asked that to move forward with crossing the Merle open space with either a new EIS or the one that was in place. So I just wanted to clarify those two things. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I've been in the pool all day. So first I wanted to thank the mayor and council members for opening yesterday's meeting up to discuss the report on the entrance to Aspen reevaluation process. More questions than answers surfaced, with staff being given the direction to provide answers to questions. Mayor Richards also asked for a work session to be scheduled to discuss the reevaluation process, which I assume would also be an opportunity to satisfy NEPA's requirements for public comments. And then I have 5 quick points. We all know and agree that the purpose of a reevaluation of an existing record of decision and its EIS is to determine if the original decision remains valid or if a new SEIS or EIS is needed due to changing conditions. In the City of Aspen, September 5th, 2025 request letter to CDOT asking for permission to conduct a reevaluation, the city stated that it intends to move forward with the remaining elements of the preferred alternative which have not been built. One of those unbuilt elements is the light rail. The light rail is not being evaluated in the reevaluation to determine if it is still a valid form of mass transit. Why is that? A reevaluation's purpose is to review the entire remaining unbuilt project scope to check if conditions have changed. We know that the mass transit light rail system has been replaced with a mass transit bus system with voter-approved funding sources. That is called a changed condition. Funding for the light rail was defeated in 1999 and 2003. Since then, there has been zero activity of moving the light rail forward. It is a dead-end solution, so why is it still in the record of decision? Second thing, and Rachel, how much more time do I have? Sorry.
You have about 51 seconds.
Okay, so secondly is that modifications are allowed, what's allowed in a reevaluation. Last night, split tunnel. Tory just brought up split modifications. Many other people have brought up other recommendations. And from what I've heard, that the staff has been told that the solution that they're working with Jacobs Engineering has got to be within the confines of a reevaluation. They don't want to have anything in the report that would trigger a new supplemental or reevaluation. Third, project limits. Why are we only going to buttermilk? Why is the scope of project not being expanded to include the lumberyard housing, which is the city's responsibility, the airport to Brush Creek Park and Ride? Emergency evacuation. Why in God's name are we only having one bridge to the roundabout?
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. So those are my asks. If we could have those, that'd be great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room for public comment at this time? Do we have anyone online? No, I'm not seeing any. I will close the public comment, and we will move on to council member and mayor's comments. Who would like to start? Anything today, Bill?
Sure,
Please.
happy to start. Firstly, sorry for my tardiness today. Secondly, I've been thinking a lot about, as we all have, I'm sure, about the airport closure next year and what we could do proactively that might make sense. I know we've talked a lot about not really knowing what it's going to be like, but the two things that I keep coming back to that are going to be, I think are going to be the most affected are weddings and sort of events that people would host in Aspen. I know, fortunately, we're hearing about some of the events are still scheduled, but I do think the wedding industry is going to be highly affected. And I think short visits are going to be highly affected. People coming to town for the weekend. I'm just not sure people will think it's worth the incremental effort to come here for 2, 3, 4-night stays, or maybe even up to a week. I don't know. So I wanted to get your thoughts on an idea that I've talked to some people about, and I certainly haven't fleshed out this idea yet. It's something that would warrant a lot of conversation and thought, but would anyone be open to exploring some kind of reprieve on the short-term rental tax and hotel tax for the duration of the airport closure next year? And maybe it's limited to stays of a certain length or something like that, but again, to help encourage, it could be something that ACRA could then market, saying that, sales tax holiday or sales tax reprieve for the duration of the airport closure. I certainly have not run this by legal counsel at all. I don't know what the ability to do such a thing might be or not, but wanted to float that idea because it's the only thing I can come up with that I think, in my opinion, definitively is going to be impacted and might be something we could do proactively.
Yeah, I think with a tax holiday, you're going to have to go back to voters because they've already instituted the approval to move forward with the tax. So you'd have to go to a ballot question, I believe, to make that adjustment.
Well, we could do it in November quickly.
Well, I
I'm
think
just
some of
making
those
sure that
revenues are
parameter's
what
known.
we've pledged towards our bond for the lumberyard, though, Bill. I mean, we would have to do a lot of substituting of potential revenues. I don't know that the
Understood. There's a lot of
ACRA or Snowmass Village Resort Association are quite as totally concerned with that. And the real challenge is someone has a $200 a night and they have to collect their tax on it. And you say, okay, there's going to be no tax. Okay, the rent rate goes up to $210. You don't know that someone will say, okay, I'll keep my same rates as last year just because there's a tax holiday. It's kind of like, well, now I have a little more margin I can grab. You just can't control what the actual rate someone will charge
Of course not.
because you're doing that. So I would not see that as a valuable measure myself. But I would encourage you to talk with Debbie Braun in the chamber. They had a really nice, those meetings are public. You can come to them if you'd like, 8:30 on the last Tuesday of each month with their planning efforts for attraction and bringing people in. And actually heard the local florist today talk about wedding planners that were using them locally as opposed to shipping all the flowers and the whole wedding in from California or something. So everyone's nervous, but I think that's kind of calming down a little as people are looking forward to the summer season. It's a little more about drought and fire are almost the reasons people are staying away in Colorado. And so new things we need to deal with as well. But I appreciate you thinking of ways
I know
to
others
attract
do.
business, but I just don't know that the city should take the hit that way on the housing projects and other commitments we have.
Respect your opinion. How do others feel about that?
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Likewise.
it opens up a bit of a can of worms. I mean, who qualifies, who doesn't?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to it, but my question is more, is this something that we should be talking further about? I feel compelled to do something, and I don't think that we've come up with something good to do yet. So is this something good we could do, is ultimately my question, or something like it. I'm open to any ideas. I just don't think we've done enough to help our community.
Yes. Go ahead, Christine.
We had talked about a task force or some sort of community group getting together to come up with different ideas. And I would be interested in including that in a broader discussion about ideas instead of just one being floated. So if there's some energy to organize a group of business leaders and potentially someone from council
The county is doing that already with their community groups, organizations, so we don't have to organize it. People would have to want to join and be more of a part with what the county through the airport is already doing. They've got several groups working on it. But I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
Yes, okay, so I mean, I don't, if maybe floating that idea there, I don't know that it would be something I'd want to take on individually as the council, but I'm interested in broader solutions.
We do, and just to add to that, we do have a monthly meeting with basically governmental entities from up valley all the way to down valley, plus some of the major employers and the school district and some others, all collaborating around things like transportation and communication to try to talk about, the marketing of Aspen during those times. What are the impacts? How do you navigate through some of the challenges that will be present during that time?
I would say in the same way we think about every issue through the environmental lens for 2027, I think about every issue through the airport closure lens. And if we were to do anything, you floated out some non-fleshed out ideas. I think if anything were to come, it would be potentially from a work session with ACRA to talk about their data and solutions and what ideas they bring forth, because I think a lot of the issues, like you said, are going to be industry specific. And if they have ideas from the meetings that you talked about for a particular industry to help throughout, as in the same way that APSHA is helping individuals through potential layoffs, I would tackle this very specifically from ACRA data more than anything else.
Yeah,
I'd be supportive of organizing that work session. My only, Christine, I love the task force idea. I'm just worried about time. Like if there are things that require a vote, we don't have a lot of time to do that. And I think we would want to do that on the November ballot, not on a separate ballot. So that'd be my concern, is taking action sooner rather than later. I don't know that we have time to stand up and interview and find volunteers for a task force, then meet with them and flesh out ideas and go back and forth. I just, again, I feel compelled to do something, anything we can to help. And at the end of the day, to respond specifically to some of your comments, Sam, we're a town that relies on visitors, period. All other industries trickle down from visitors, period. I think, there are small other industries here, but ultimately we are a tourist town and we rely on visitors, and that's who pays the bills ultimately. And so that's why I focused on this hotel tax, and particularly on the short stays. I think the people that are coming here for a month are coming here for a month no matter what next year. I think the people that are coming here for a weekend might need a little extra encouragement. That's where this idea comes from. And if others are supportive of a work session with ACRA, if you think that's a logical next step, I would love to see that happen.
I can suggest that, or we could see if we could schedule that. I'd like to see a whole series of ideas on the plate. I mean, you could easily ask ACRA to use its $1 million destination marketing fund that they have not spent to lower hotel fees. We could talk about lowering our overall sales tax, the sales tax that supports the schools, that supports the open space, that supports all the other programs. I don't know that we need to diminish the quality of our services, which is what will happen from that. And I think that a lot is being done, and I think that there's a little bit more of an Armageddon headline out there than it needs to be. I know I've expressed this to John separately, and perhaps should have said it to the larger APSHA board, or what APSHA is really thinking about to bring back to us, because in the past, when businesses have closed for many months at a time, whether it was a Hotel Jerome, renovations, or other things, those employees simply go up to the County Human Services and get the unemployment benefits that they deserve, and that is something that allows them to help paying rent. And APSHA has in the past looked at an individual case. Oh, your business is closed, 60 people have been laid off. We understand you'll be working again in X many more months. And it's not been we have to blanketly reduce everyone's hours requirements for this year. It's more of on a case-by-case basis and manage it as they have in the past. So, I mean, I know that's what you had brought up, but I personally have not myself been in favor of just creating some sort of new blanket policy about reduced work hours at all. I think it's been a reasonable standard, and I think there'll be other job opportunities. But it's just something we have to wait to play out. I think people could do an awful lot of fear-induced measures that are going to be unnecessary.
Yeah, I hear that, and I understand the links that you're making, but I don't want to wait till we're in April or May or June next year.
We could have a question on the March ballot if people are feeling that it's not as fully
same
baked.
point, though. There's just like not a lot of time. even to do that, and if we're going to start fleshing out these ideas. And what I was saying was, I just don't want, whether I'm here or not, I don't want to wait till next late spring, early summer for ACRA and others to be showing up here going, our hotel bookings are down by 75%, what are we going to do? Which is a possibility. We just don't know. And so, again, that's why I feel compelled to do something proactively. And, Pete sort of alluded in our budget meeting recently that we can afford to take some hits next year. And if that's true, which I believe it to be, then we should take some hits for our community, in my opinion, to do anything we can proactively before it's too late.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think that it gets to be, and we'll have a larger discussion on it. I'd love to see the landlords lower their rent for 10%
They
next
might
summer.
have to give rent credits. It's totally possible.
Is it all what the city has to do, or is it private business?
Everybody.
And, we went through that with COVID, and we had some business owners who said, not a chance. I want my full rent from my employees. We had others who said that they would participate in a lower program. But I don't know that, again, who has the resources to make that back up, and who is willing to sacrifice what they need. I am concerned about the ongoing work that the city is doing and will need to do for the year after the airport closes and the year after that. And it's just to say we'll take a one-year ding in a lot of these activities that you end up with a much higher inflation rate for your cost of doing business when you do start a project a year later, things like that. So I think there's a lot of pros and cons to that idea. I appreciate you throwing it on the table.
Yeah.
But
do we have three that would like to specifically request a work session with ACRA to flesh that out sooner rather than later?
I would support that again if we had multiple ideas to focus on this.
Well, I encourage everyone to come up with some of your own too, and we can ask ACRA to prepare some.
I think we would need to take a real financial analysis to ACRA and ask ACRA what else they're doing. Ask the county if they would lower their taxes, ask what other things need to be done, ask if the landlords of the community will be lowering their rent for that time period. But I don't personally want to just say, hey, the city's willing to sacrifice X amount of millions of dollars for something that may or may not be necessary, and we would have to be putting it out there in advance whether or not, and those are real issues. That's real affordable housing units. That's real cost to delaying projects for a year.
Perhaps we can take a step back, Rachel. Let's just focus on generation of these ideas and fleshing them out before we take it to anybody. So my question is there support of at least 3 council members to schedule a work session with ACRA to talk about ideas to help where the city of Aspen specifically, the city of Aspen government specifically, can participate proactively in the airport shutdown mitigation efforts next year? That's my request.
Yeah, I'd support that. I think it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, I brought it up, and like I said, I want them to talk about the industries. They have a ton of data already.
Yes.
So the industries that are going to be most affected and where the city can participate in potentially helping. And I think that's how you come up with good ideas for this, and
Sure.
I think they're the board to
Yeah,
go to.
I'm happy. I'd like to have ACRA tell us what they're planning on doing, but again,
That too.
with their surveys, they found more guests who were surveyed across this year, not just in the summer or in the winter, said 18% said they're more likely to visit because they think it'll be a little less crowded. And so who knows if they'll be disappointed that it is fully crowded. But the ACRA is on top of this, and we pay them. They collect those taxes.
I totally appreciate all angles. And like I said, I
So
think
maybe they'll sacrifice their taxes are on the hotels rooms, far more than.
this is just one idea again, and I think that everyone is going to have to bear the burden of this, but I think if we demonstrate leadership showing that we are willing to kick in and help bear some of the pain, maybe it will inspire others to do so too. And I think the more proactive we can be, the better. So thanks for supporting that, and let's get that scheduled, please.
Very good. Sam, you get to follow that.
I'm good. Thank you.
Very good. This side of the table, comments, things going forward.
I don't have any. Go ahead.
Okay. Just wanted to comment on the recent rains. Really glad that the monsoon seems to have started, but I will point out that we are still in stage 3 water restrictions, and I thank the local coverage for informing the general public of that. The Roaring Fork watershed this week, as of July 30th, was flowing at 11 to 43% of normal. So that's well below 50%, and in some cases far below 50%. Roaring Fork River at Aspen is flowing at 20 cubic feet per second. The norm for this time of year is 114. Keep your fingers crossed for more rain.
All right, well, in terms of general comments, I just would like to say that on August 9th is the Mayor's Cup Golf Tournament.
Nice.
And this year, the beneficiary is the Colorado Wildfire Foundation.
Aspen specifically.
Aspen, at the Aspen Municipal Golf Course.
Isn't the Aspen Wildfire Foundation, not the Colorado Wildfire Foundation?
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
Aspen or it's Roaring Fork Valley Wildfire. There's
Aspen.
getting to be too many. The Aspen Wildfire Foundation,
Yeah.
not the Colorado Wildfire Foundation. That would be a little too big
Yeah.
of a reach. And they are collecting teams right now. There's a lot of information online that will include breakfast, kind of a buffet lunch afterwards, a lot of fun on the different holes, and it's for an incredibly important cause as we go forward. So I've put a team together. I'm not sure they're ringers or rookies, but we hope to have a lot of fun competition out there. So thanks, and please sign up. That's August 9th at the Aspen Municipal Golf Course. We will now move on to any agenda amendments today.
No amendments.
Okay, are there any city managers' comments today?
3 quick ones. On the lumberyard, we are going to invite employers to help shape the future of the lumberyard employer partnership program for the prioritization of those 50 additional units out at that facility. We really are looking forward to them to help shape that program and make it practical, equitable, and responsive to the needs of the employer population. You need to RSVP by August 10th. That can be done at aspencommunityvoice.com, and the actual event will take place on the 17th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. The Armory Hall, we have kicked off an RFP for the search for the operator over there. We're looking for an experienced restaurateur or a hospitality operator to come help activate that new food hall once it's developed, and that community gathering space. Folks have already seen that we've put up some barricades around the Armory, so we are getting started on work imminently. That information is also on aspencommunityvoice.com. If folks are interested, proposals are going to be due by Wednesday, September 2nd at 2 p.m. For our RFP process. And lastly, we have one more chance through August 3rd to comment on the quality of life survey for the city of Aspen. So this is your last chance to provide feedback. And again, if you want to find that, it's at aspencommunityvoice.com.
Stop shop.
Very good. So we will now move on to board reports since our last regular meeting. Who would like to start with that? Sam?
Yeah, Christina and I attended a Board of Health meeting. Number of things talked about, but the one thing I wanted to focus on was bat exposures. I guess there's been a number of bat exposures in the community, and I know APD has been updated on this. There was an after-hours call where the official didn't keep the bat, and if you do have exposure to a bat, you want to keep it so it can be tested. Otherwise, you're going to be subject to potentially rabies, and thus have to go through a series of rabies vaccines, which are expensive and painful. So if you do have a bat exposure, keep the bat and get it tested. And that is my PSA today from the Board of Health, especially since I think there's been a number of bat exposures in the community.
What's the difference between a bat exposure and a bat bite? I mean, is
Well,
that
if you've
the same
been
thing?
bitten, then definitely you've been exposed. If you're sleeping and there's a bat in your room, you might have been exposed, and that's also an exposure enough to make sure that the bat has been caught and tested.
Okay.
So I would say anytime a bat is in your unit or within your domicile, you should keep it and get it tested.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
I think Liz Stark wrote a really good
Yeah.
commentary on that recently.
Yeah, but definitely pertinent, given what some community members have gone through. I've known at least 2 that have had to go through this series of rabies vaccines. And rabies is an incurable disease once you have it. It takes time for it to develop, which is why the vaccine, thank God, exists. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
That's who you
I would add just 2 things. One, that cyclospora has not been an issue in Aspen or the Colorado area yet, so that was good news. And then they did give an update on Lincoln Creek. If everyone remembers, there was copper contaminant in Lincoln Creek, and there was a work group formed to study what was going on there. They're still compiling research on it, but they have narrowed it down to a mineralized tributary, which is contributing to it. It's not actually coming from Lincoln Creek. And they are exploring mitigation potential for it. It's really expensive and probably unlikely to happen, but there are no impacts to human life right now, but it does affect aquatic life. So that's why we're seeing dead fish.
Not pretty.
Yep.
Thank you. Rachel and I attended a Northwest Council of Governments Water Quality and Quantity meeting, also known as QQ, in Edwards on July 16th. Here's just reading from some notes I took. All major economic sectors in our state depend heavily on water, and municipal demand is expected to rise in Colorado from 15 to 70% in the next 10 years. There's 173,000 acres of irrigated land in Colorado, and that's up 23% over last decade, which seems like we're going in the wrong direction there. All of the 6 headwater counties are already facing water shortfalls. On April 1st, the snow water equivalent in Colorado declined between 11 and 19% since the year 2000. It's expected to decline another 15% more by 2050. So that's 35% by 2050 total. Water and economy are inextricably linked in our 6 headwaters counties. Update from the Colorado River District. They told us this was the warmest January to June on record in the state, as well as record low snowpack for the state. It was the driest it's ever been in Colorado on every single day of last winter. We peaked at half of our median peak of snow water equivalent. 100% of the upper Colorado River Basin is in drought. Northwestern Colorado is in the most extreme level of drought, and that's where we are here in Pickens County. The Colorado River peaked 2 months early at Dot Cerro on March 27th. 2 months early.
2 months early.
Normally it peaks in early June. Gunnison River at Grand Junction peaked on April 2nd at 1/4 of its normal peak. Usually peaks in early May. Western Slope reservoirs are at or near record lows. Blue Mesa is only 32% full. They had record low inflow, only 28% of the median. They're estimated to hit minimum power pool there next February. That's when there's not enough water to send water through the turbine to generate electricity. Same thing that's going to happen at Lake Powell soon. Green Mountain Reservoir, record low inflow. It was 34% of median. Record low storage for mid-July, only 24% full. This is the first year that the Green Mountain Reservoir has not filled 100% since it was built. Rudai has a record low inflow, record low storage. It's going to hit minimum power pool in August with a loss of 77% of electric power generation. Thanks again to our local media for reporting on that. Lake Powell, even with the Flaming Gorge releases of 1 million acre feet, power pool is predicted in January of next year. The good news is Grand Lake had some clarity issues, and they've entered a 30-year plan with the Bureau of Land Management and I think $30 million was involved with that, to help keep Grand Lake's water clarity from getting worse. Grand Lake was known for its water clarity. It was almost as clear as Lake Tahoe. But because it's connected to 2 other lakes and a trans-mountain diversion, they've got sediment issues and water clarity issues and algae growths. And anyway, that's the best news that we got out of the whole meeting. Still in stage 3 water restrictions, thanks.
Thank you, John. It's a very depressing report, but it's important to bear it in mind. Personally, I attended the Club 20, which are the western 20 counties of Colorado policy meetings in Grand Junction last week on Thursday and Friday. They are pretty much all-day meetings from 8 a.m. till about 4:30, and we did hear from our federal representatives with some updates on issues they are working on. Club 20 is divided into multiple committees, subcommittees from education, transportation, energy, telecom, and water. We did have a very good water presentation as well from the Colorado River District with the continuing bad news updates, so to speak, particularly on the negotiations with the upper basin states and the lower basin around the eventual deliveries of Lake Powell. There has been a federal, quote, solution put forward that if the upper and lower basins do not reach some sort of agreement on their own, the federal government will be acting because the existing operational guidelines expire at the end of September. And this is not a good position to be in because we know that California has a lot more congressional representatives than Colorado does, and you kind of get outnumbered there. But we're really in a situation of how do you reverse 100 years of water law or issues like that, where all the different lower basin states are taking their cuts. Or will take some cuts, but everyone's going to be taking cuts. And Colorado keeps trying to make the case that, hey, we're dependent on snowfall. We don't have a big Lake Powell reservoir tap that we can turn on to water our communities, whereas all the excess over the good years of the past has already been used up, and they were overusing so much of theirs. But I do not know where we will end up with federal management of those issues or those problems. It was noted that the Black Canyon of the Gunnison may not have water in a year and a half as all those water rights go right after Blue Mesa and over to the irrigators, the agriculture interests in the rest of that Grand Valley. So their water right for the National Monument of Black Canyon is a junior right. And so people are starting to see the junior rights being turned off, going up and down the system. Throughout Colorado, people are going to be under administration. People who've not had a augmentation plan for a well or pond on their property, whether it's in Pickens County or some other part that hasn't been as well regulated, they are starting to count every drop, and you will be turned off if you're using more than your share. So those are my board reports. Also, they had the ACRA board meeting this morning. ACRA is extremely excited to be moving into its new location and is doing a little remodeling over there, but they are going to have a permanent home from here out. They gave a brief update on the airport working groups, and they were delighted and very thankful to all the city staff for that great 4th of July celebration. They had heard nothing but good news. John, you have a question?
No, I wanted to add one more thing about water because you mentioned the Gunnison River, and a lot of people here in Colorado are aware of this, but there's a huge trans-basin diversion from the Gunnison River through, I think it's a 6-mile tunnel, over to the Uncompahgre Valley, which is essentially from Ridgeway through Montrose and Olathe down to Delta. They are the largest water user in the whole Colorado River Basin.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's right here in Colorado. You know, we hear about all these stories about alfalfa being grown down in Arizona and California, but one of the biggest water users in the state is agriculture in that valley here in Colorado.
Well, there was a climate report not long ago that said by the year between 2050 and 2060, communities that we know now as being one environmental biome, such as Grand Junction or Pueblo, will by that time be classified as desert. And we are just drying out very rapidly. What we are seeing now is just the beginning, sadly, with the embodied carbon that's in the atmosphere and the methane release. So it's just not getting better. We will move on from that, if nobody else has anything else, to the consent calendar. On the consent calendar, we have Resolution 090, Series of 2026, the 19 West Water Place renovation contract for construction services, Resolution 93 and 95, Series of 26, the Truscott Place renovation contract for construction, and Resolution 96, Series of 2026, the Rio Grande Parking Garage concrete deck sealer contract for construction, as well as the draft minutes of the July 14th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, is there
I do
any
have
comments
questions on-
or questions?
I do on 90, 93, and 95, please.
Okay, please go right ahead and ask your questions.
Thanks. 90, I'm supportive of this work. And we don't have to resolve this necessarily tonight in relationship to this specific resolution, but it's always been strange to me that this is city-owned housing meant for city employees, and rather than renting it to them, we sell it to them. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. If we are going to be investing money in maintaining these assets, which we do, and we have a pattern of doing that, why are we transferring ownership of them? Why don't we just rent them? I don't know if anyone else has ever thought about that, but it just seems unnecessary to me, and introduces additional burdens, and I don't see what the benefit in return is for anybody. This is not like, if you don't work for the city of Aspen, you have to sell it back. So it's not like traditional APSHA ownership housing. In my opinion, it would make a lot more sense to function as rental housing. So I wanted to see if anyone has any thoughts on that. Sorry, not really any questions for you guys necessarily.
Well, I can offer actually that we are at least exploring kind of the structure of our housing program. This is something that's been in existence ever since I've been here. But we are looking at our employee housing program and how does it best function to meet the needs of the organization. So we look at things just like you're saying. I also want to say that while we're investing in this actual asset, the person that purchased it gets a 3% maximum appreciation or CPI every year. But in addition to that, they actually have to be deducted 1.33% for capital maintenance and upkeep of the unit. So we're actually setting that aside.
Recapturing a little bit.
On the time of sale, we actually pull that back. So we're actually getting some skin in the game from those individuals.
So over the 20 years, what did that amount to in this?
I honestly don't know the number for this particular unit, but I definitely know that for 20 years, it's going to add some value to the cost of the renovation. So, but that said, the rentership versus ownership kind of question, we're still wrestling with ourselves and looking at that.
I had one question on this too, and this is just because I don't know. Are there minimum standards for sellers within the city program, like in APSHA? Because this is a significant amount of money that we're putting in to maintain or to bring the unit back up after 20 years of occupancy. APSHA has regulations around quality standards for the resale. Is that something the city has in its own program?
Yeah, so city staff inspects the unit prior to move out and assesses the condition of it, basically, and looks if there's anything that's above and beyond normal wear and tear, and then we would try to recoup those costs if that was the case. Generally, since this is city staff working with other city staff, we don't encounter those problems very often, but when we do, we try to recoup those costs.
I would note that we're in these units a fair amount, so if there is an issue, we try to head that off before it becomes a major problem.
Like, we don't end up getting surprised at a 20-year period because we've been in the units periodically throughout the lifespan.
Okay. I would just, again, it's a lot for, that someone, even on the free market, would have to invest in a unit of that size. So I'm not saying that's the case with this, but that make sure that staff are not deferring maintenance and capital upgrades to the city because they know that we're going to do it regardless.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's something that we try to look at with all of our units. These units I think are coming up on 30-something years old, and this is probably the first time this one has been renovated, so we do feel like this is a reasonable infusion of capital back into something that's seen a lot of use over that period.
Okay, thanks.
You know, I had a similar thought when I was reading the memo. It's just the words painting came out of that. And I think that when that conversation goes forward, we should have a copy of the APSHA standards of what they're required to do. But a lot of times, if the appliances are more than 10 years old, they have to be replaced by the seller, the painting by the seller, carpet by the seller, things like this, so that we're at the same level with those with future leasing. Or for sales. And I do think it's a greater discussion to be had. In the past, you could deduct your interest for a mortgage where you can't deduct your rent. The federal government has kind of changed that, so that's a benefit that's gone away to that homeowner. On the other hand, when you're getting a credit card application or auto loan or a loan for your students to go to college, you can check that you're an owner versus a renter. You're going to get a better rate of interest, and it will cost you less for other aspects of your life. So I think it's worth measuring and taking a look at those, and I think it also kind of offers something to the employee that we value you enough that there would be a move-out time period, which I think is 6 months. It could be less than that. Whereas, you know, rental, you tend to kind of feel like they could get rid of me any time with 60 days notice, you know. And I think it is more about whether you're telling someone you're really part of the family or you're just here for an extended visit. And so I do want to look at the pros and cons of all that. Anyhow, we'll come back to finishing up the consent calendar now. If there's no further questions, or Bill, did you have another?
On the next one,
okay.
please,
Yes.
which is Truscott. Would it be possible to put the memo up? Because I was confused by the memo and want to make sure if it needs to be edited, we get that captured. Can someone
not set up to share right now. I have it pulled up, but I'm not set up to share.
Did you join Zoom?
No.
Just need to join Zoom and then
Hold on, I might.
get promoted.
Bill, you want to start describing?
I was just going to suggest that. So in the first section, which is titled Intended Outcome, it says that staff is requesting $1.2 million for the project, which I believe is what's stipulated in Resolution 93. And then in the second section, executive summary, it talks about requesting $631,000. I'm not sure if there's an error there or if I'm misunderstanding something, but I thought if I was confused, others might be too. So I think I just want to talk through a little bit.
Yeah, just
Are there
identify
options
yourself.
here?
Just identify yourself for the record. And
Sure. Pericles Bees, Asset Management. Happy to answer your questions, Bill. To clarify, the contract with Blue Spruce, the contractor, was for the $1.2 million. So the resolution is to approve the contract with them. there in the memo, we're asking for the additional budget authority for the contingency and other soft costs for the project. The $631,000 is for base scope. That there's two factors to this. So there's base scope and an existing project budget, and then there's REMP funding added to this project budget authority to, in addition to the base scope, add the windows and rigid insulation to the project for the total 1.2.
So some is coming from the reserves of the Truscott projects, and the other is an allocation and a request for allocation from the Renewable Energy Mitigation Program to go further and upgrade for greater energy efficiency in the units.
So Bill, we're replacing the siding and putting a waterproof barrier up. At this time, it's a good time to also do windows, and we could put a rigid insulation underneath that as we put it back together. The REMP funding covers the windows and the rigid insulation. The rest of it, what we're calling base scope, is siding and flashing and a waterproof barrier.
Got it. Understood, and thank you for that. So let's just talk about the math specifically. So you've previously had $1 million of existing budget authority, right? You are requesting us to approve a transfer of $690,000 almost from REMP for the things you just described, right? So that gets us to $1.7 million. That would cover the entire project. So the 631's just reiterating the base scope amount. We're not specifically approving that contract, or are we also simultaneously doing that?
If the REMP funding portion was not approved, then we would ask if we could still do the base scope under the amount that's already been appropriated.
Got it. All right. Sorry if I was unnecessarily confused by this, but I'm good with it.
Fair questions.
Given that we're talking about this topic, I still think we shouldn't own this property or these properties. I think we should sell them and let somebody else manage and maintain them. All the restrictions and benefits to the community would remain. I've mentioned this several times, but throw it out there one more time.
Thanks, Bill. We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any further questions from council? John?
No question, just a comment. I'm actually super excited about this because it improves insulation. It's going to improve the windows, water intrusion, and a little fire mitigation on top of it. This is just a great project.
If I could just add some clarity to one item. I think Councilmember Guth suggested that you were being asked to approve a transfer from the REMP funds. That actually will come to you through your supplemental budget process. So you're approving a resolution today that would approve the contract, understanding that that will come to you as a supplemental request. I just wanted to make that clear for the public as well. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarity.
Okay. Very good. Appreciate that. And that being no further comments, will you call the roll on the approval of the consent calendar?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes, thank you. We have no notice of call-ups tonight. Thank you all for being here and being able to answer our questions. We are going into first reading of ordinances, and the first one of those is ordinance number 16, series of 2026, establishing term limits for the Kids First Advisory Board. We have a staff report, and we have a potential ordinance. I don't know if we're going to have a presentation on this or just from you.
I don't have a presentation, Mayor and Council. This is coming to you at your request that arose out of a May 11th work session where we discussed board term limits. You indicated and you directed staff to prepare ordinances that would establish term limits for two of your boards. They're both advisory boards. And I would actually ask if it's okay for you to call both ordinance 15 and 16. They mirror each other and they are related. So we can just discuss those collectively,
Okay.
if that's okay.
We will also then have a first reading of ordinance 15, but let me ask, does anyone have any questions before we accept a motion for reading?
And if I could, I just want to highlight the effect of these ordinances is to create term limits. The proposed term limit structure allows a member to serve up to 3 consecutive 3-year terms. They would then need to take at least a 3-year break before you can reappoint them to the board. This allows you some flexibility because in the event you cannot find a qualified member, you can appoint somebody even if they've met their term limits. So it does have sort of a backstop in there, so you're not left with vacant board seats when somebody is willing to sit for longer, even though they may be term limited. And it allows that reappointment to continue on as long as it's necessary.
Until someone else is appointed.
Correct. So that structure is designed for both the Kids First Board and the Wheeler Board. I apologize, your ordinance 16 contains an error and it does not have a number on it, and that is my error. But I just wanted to highlight what the effect of these ordinances would be, so that certainly if you have questions, we're happy to bring back whatever information may be helpful to you.
Thank you. Sam, did you have a question there?
I was going to make a motion to read.
Oh, okay. I think we'd be ready for a motion to read.
All right, I'll make a motion to read both Ordinance 16 and 15, Series of 2026.
Second.
Okay, and they are on a similar topic. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. And now we will have, after she reads, we'll have discussion.
Ordinance number 15, Series of 2026, an ordinance of the City of Aspen, Colorado, amending ordinance number 2, Series of 2021, to establish term limits for the members of the Wheeler Advisory Board. And ordinance number 16, Series of 2026, an ordinance of the City of Aspen, Colorado, amending ordinance number 16, Series of 2020, to establish term limits for members of the Kids First Advisory Board.
Thank you. We would move to discussion before asking for a motion to approve on first reading. I just want to really be clear, as this council has discussed this, most of our boards have term limits, some do not by the charter. These were just kind of not with or without. It was just kind of a blank slate, and so it's been assumed there are no term limits. And I want to just be clear, this is not about anyone who is currently serving or who has asked for an appointment or wants to be appointed. This is more about the expectations of the future, that when we appoint someone to a board, they understand that at some point in time there'll be turnover, and that we're not personally insulting them if we were to choose not to reappoint them for a fourth or fifth or sixth term, which has been the something that has occurred on some of our more popular and exciting boards. And so this is really just about setting an expectation for the future and for future councils, that we greatly appreciate the service, but we also need, just like council, sometimes a little rotation so that there can be new ideas, new blood, new participation. Any further comments, Sam?
Well, just because this is first reading, I just want it to be said verbally, because it's in the packet, that this does not apply to those currently serving. It only applies on their next reappointment, correct?
That is correct. So existing board members appointed prior to the effective date of this ordinance shall not have their prior service count against the term limit requirement. Such members shall become subject to those term limits imposed by these ordinances upon their next reappointment. So for purposes of calculating consecutive terms, we can only count those for which they're appointed after the passage of this ordinance, if you approve it at second reading.
We can only count it, or that's the way that it's written?
That's the way that it's written. I would need to do a little bit more legal research if you want to evaluate the alternative, which is to go ahead and count the existing service prior to passage of this ordinance. I would note, generally, the law disfavors retroactive applicability, but certainly I can look into it. I did not research that specific legal question.
Is it really a legal question, or is this just a matter of preference?
I think in this case, it's probably just a matter of preference. But for instance, when you're appointed, if we were to change council member terms, we have to do that through a vote, and we can't retroactively do that. When you get elected.
But I wasn't appointed, I was elected.
I
That's the
understand that.
difference, yeah.
But I don't know if that same logic applies to an appointment situation where when they applied under a certain regime. and now you're changing that regime.
But only
While they're serving the
only
appointment.
into a new term.
Only into, correct. So I can look into it if you want to evaluate that alternative and allow yourself to, for prior terms, consider those in your calculation of consecutive terms.
Yeah, the only reason I inquire about it, and sorry to take over your thought here, is if we do it the way Kate wrote it originally, nothing happens for a lot of the people that have been around for a long time for another 9 years, potentially, which is a long time. So,
Well, I think it's,
Well,
I can go either way with it myself. If you want to bring it back at second reading, that has an option that we could insert and have a larger discussion on it after Kate's done the research. I would be open to looking at that.
The one thought I had was anyone that's already met the 9 years would be eligible for one more reappointment.
Okay.
That would be my
Way
suggestion.
to team,
I
no,
like that.
yeah.
and I will just say that right now you have the discretion to appoint whoever. So you can effectuate that, and whoever is sitting in your chairs can effectuate that through their selection of processes. It's if you want to enforce a term limit regime. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I can look into that.
So that was it. And then the only other thing to reiterate, whether this is in the ordinance or not, is just to make clear that these people can serve on a different board, even though they're termed out on the Wheeler Kids First. They're more than welcome, in my opinion, and hopefully legally, to switch to a different board if they want to continue to serve. They just will be termed out on the board that they're currently serving
Yeah.
on. And I just want to make that clear if it needs to be in the ordinance or not, but just keep serving. Just.
I like your measure, as you're suggesting, to look at for second reading, that is, if someone's already hit that 9-year standard, they could be eligible for one more term from here, but we're not having to go all the way retroactive and get a little too crazy about it.
Yeah.
Is that okay with the rest of?
Yeah.
Good compromise.
My only other comment is, Kate, thanks for bringing this quickly, and thanks for the clear report on, you kept it simple, and save for this one suggestion that Sam brought up, I think it was on point, so thanks.
Look into that.
Very good. Is there any further comments? Is there a motion to approve on first reading?
So moved.
And a second?
Both ordinances?
Yes, 15
Both
and
ordinance.
16.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yep.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you, those who attend those boards who've been sitting here listening to our dialogue, and we appreciate their service and your service. Council, we have a few more items before an executive session. I think we probably could push through without a break. The first is there are no public hearings. We have an action item, Resolution 90094, Series of 2026, the second quarter fee in lieu request.
Good evening, Mayor Richards and City Council. For the record, Haley Hart, Long Range Planner for Community Development. I wanted to introduce Harry Valentine Wilson, who's going to be doing the presentation. He is relatively new with our department. He joined us last summer as our planning intern, and then we hired him full-time, I think in November. So I just wanted to do a quick introduction of Harry, and he is going to do the presentation for the fee in lieu batch.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Richards, member of council. Today I will be presenting a batch fee in lieu request for affordable housing mitigation. So these 8 projects are requesting to pay fee in lieu to satisfy their affordable housing mitigation requirements per section 26470 growth management quota system. Each project is a residential project that will be required to mitigate at a category 2 rate. This is the first request of 2026. The purpose of GMQS is to ensure that growth is sufficiently managed within the city. The request in front of you is specifically focused on affordable housing mitigation, which is generated through new development and redevelopments. There are a variety of ways in which affordable housing mitigation for development can occur administratively. These are shown on the slide. However, due to a confirmed shortage of affordable housing credits, staff established a policy and process to facilitate these requests in a batch review process. This policy was established in 2022 and reaffirmed administratively in 2024, with the expectation that requests would occur on a quarterly basis. This is the review route for fee in lieu requests. We are in step 3. Here are the applicable review criteria per section 26-470-110C. Staff has found that all 8 properties meet the criteria. And then on July 1st, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved Resolution 6, which recommended approval for the first 5 properties to pay fee in lieu for affordable housing. In order to maintain the city's customer service standards, staff were asked to facilitate 3 more fee in lieu requests that missed the deadline to get on the July 1st Planning and Zoning agenda. These requests went to P&Z on the 15th of July, where the commission also recommended approval to council through Resolution 8. Finally, staff recommends that City Council approve Resolution 94, Series of 2026.
Great, thank you. Sam?
For Ben. This has come up a few times. Are we working towards administratively approving these? I've always thought this was kind of an exercise that was unnecessary, unless you tell me why we need to do this every time.
It's certainly a fair question. This requirement was put in place to ensure the Affordable Housing Credits Program was successful over time. We've gone back and forth as a staff about, how to handle this circumstance over the last several years. I will say if you get rid of the request to council, first of all, it'd take a code change to do that. But if whether temporary or not, I do think that it signals sort of an end to the Affordable Housing Credits Program.
Okay.
Because that requirement that affordable housing credits are the primary means of mitigation is really dependent on the fact that there's a process to sort of get out of the fee in lieu, which is kind of the easy path. I will say we've got 3 projects that are in building permit right now that are credits programs. Or that are credits projects that are going to be generating, within the next, hopefully, couple of years. And I think it would be very unfair to those projects to change things midstream.
Yeah.
I will also say that on the 11th of August, we have a work session planned talking about the credits program and kind of current state of affairs and all those kinds of things. So I do think it's ripe for conversation. There may be a path where, until these next projects come online, that we could make it administrative, but I do think even that would require a bit of a code change. We've talked with the attorneys previously about temporary solutions to this circumstance, and this kind of facilitated path is the thing that we came up with in the interim. But it has been a point of frustration for staff. It's certainly been a point of frustration for folks who are getting these projects through. But we've tried to make this as easy as possible for folks and really facilitating it. So it is a process, but it's about as easy as we can possibly make it in light of the circumstance.
Okay. I'll just finish up by saying I support your effort in cleaning it up as much as possible. Other than me asking about it, I think we could just approve and move on. But so I appreciate your response and that we're having a work session on it.
Bill?
Yeah, thanks, Sam, for asking that question that was also on my mind. And my one suggestion would be perhaps a way to clean it up to investigate is raising the threshold to a reasonable level that wouldn't signal the end of the program. I'm not sure I totally agree with your statement on that, but I think that, you don't raise it to 4 FTEs, but maybe there's a higher level where a lot more projects could get through without having to come to council and P&Z. But administration has some discretion there still. And I do think that's a worthy change, that it ultimately comes down to the fact that this market is not big enough and not efficient enough to rely on this solely. And even though it's a good program, and even though there's broad support for it, we're just too small. We're just never going to have enough activity in this to permanently ensure that there's an adequate supply. I think you agree with me on that statement. So I think it needs a little finessing to make sure that we're not putting undue stress on people.
Fair enough. And just, it was intended when we have a work session, but this will be a topic during the work session for sure.
Thanks.
Other comments or questions? I did have a couple questions as well. Do you have a rough idea of these requests, how many are renovations that are requiring this versus how many are demolitions and rebuilds?
Can you go back to that list?
Yeah.
I know one is a change order.
823 Dean is a change order. Whoa, why is that not?
It might just need a second.
I mean, yeah, we can get that later. It was just curiosity. Was it, again, additions to existing residents? Was it demolitions? You know, what is generating this? And then secondly, I appreciate the upcoming work session coming on the Affordable Housing Credit Program. I think that it's very important to look to the community goals of having dispersed housing throughout the community and housing on site. And I do not want to create a payment in lieu system that we can kind of pay the problem away to somewhere else where the city also doesn't have room to build more housing. You know, the goal has been that this is integrated throughout the town and throughout the neighborhoods and throughout the new commercial buildings that are going up. And I hate to think that we create a program to kind of make the problem disappear and make it government's problem rather than people who are developing and redeveloping and could design a unit or two into their projects but choose not to. And so I think there's times when I agree with the credits as they're fractions, they're not a full person, that clearly that makes sense. There's other times when it's a historic structure or things like that. But I do get nervous about just creating a higher standard so that everything can be off-site. And suddenly, as we know, our cost to build a unit are not really fully compensated by the payment in lieu fee. And I'd like to see the community who do want to redevelop and who do want to create new growth and new businesses continuing to search for where they can get affordable housing. And I think this, you know, this is part of the issue.
Can I interject with one thing?
Yeah,
there,
please,
Rachel?
Bill.
Just to be clear, the 8 projects that are in front of us today are all single-family or duplex residential.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I think that, and Ben can expand on this a little bit, I think our code for commercial, which is really what you're alluding to, where there's an opportunity for more than 1 or certainly more than 2 units, already requires some on-site housing, which I just want to be clear, like, I don't think it's a good idea to require mandatory on-site housing.
No, I wasn't
for a
talking
single-family
about
resident.
these at all. I was not talking about the residential. I was talking about commercial growth.
Got it.
Yeah, no, that is something that doesn't math.
We can talk about that. It's a slightly different topic than I think the affordable housing credits discussion, but we can talk about that at the work session on the 11th as well.
It kind of,
They're very much related. I will just say as a general principle, when the credits program came into place, and even really previous to that, when fee in lieu was kind of the dominant mechanism, for a very long time, I would say I think there was a window of time in Aspen's history where there was a real preference and enforcement of on-site housing related to particularly commercial and mixed-use development and large subdivisions. But since then, I would say for probably 20 years, the program's been really agnostic between fee in lieu, eventually the credits program, and on-site units. And if you're meeting your mitigation requirement, one of those mechanisms, the code really was kind of agnostic about which one of those was preferred until the credits program came in place, and then credits were the kind of primary desired mechanism for mitigation provision. So I think it's a fair question, and I think there was a window in Aspen's history where on-site was preferred and was given mechanisms to try to make that happen a little bit more regularly than it does today.
Great. Well, when we have that discussion, I really do also want to look very carefully at this idea that we're essentially saying we're housing two people when we house one. That's a real problem. You get the credit, you know, somebody gets in there, the developer gets the price to make the pro forma, all very good, but then there's kind of a ghost employee that the new project got credit for. It's like we're not really catching up or getting ahead. We're just finding new ways to permit more growth with this mechanism. So I want to make sure we fully examine it in its entirety during that work session. Thank you. Did we have a motion to approve this yet or no?
Not yet,
So
but
let's
I'm
see
happy
if
to.
anybody has a motion to move this action
Move
item
to
forward.
approve Resolution 94, Series of 26.
Seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion by council or questions? I think that was a good dialogue. Appreciate a little time with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Will you call the roll, Nicole?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Sorry. Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next resolution for a demolition allotment. Do we have new or different presenters on this one? Thank you very much for your time.
And good job, Harry, on your first one.
Yeah.
Harry is a graduate of Aspen High School.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor Richards, City Council. I'm Brianna Dolbin, planner with Community Development. This is resolution number 97, series of 2026, for consideration of a demolition allotment at 203 Eastwood Drive. The applicant doesn't have a presentation, but is present in the audience if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. And there is staff support for this?
Yes.
There's, great. Is there council discussion on this or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 97, Series of 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been made and seconded. Appreciate the very thorough packet, and we'll move this forward unless there's further comments. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes, thank you. And the next item is resolution number 98, series of 2026, 246 Roaring Fork Drive demolition allotment.
That is correct. Good evening again. Resolution 98 is a demo allotment request for 246 Roaring Fork Drive. This is the second request of the night, and it will be the fourth allotment granted out of the 6 available for 2027 if you choose to approve.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there further discussion or a motion on this item?
I was just going to mention what Harry just mentioned, that this is further evidence in my mind that this program is fundamentally broken. For reasons I don't understand, we're giving away allotments years in advance. There's no lottery, which was what the intention of this program was. Not that I agree with it. I just don't understand how this is accomplishing any goals for the community. I have seen zero evidence of any results, any benefits for the community, and I desperately want this program eliminated. Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't want to get into much, but I just want to add one thing to the council, that some of these homes are for sale currently. And I don't want to cut too deep, but it's like the community versus commodity aspect. I've always felt a certain way about this program, as does Bill. And it's always felt like as soon as these are approved, they're going to be in real estate listings as demo permit, and it feels more like a commoditization of our real estate than a community benefit. And I know we've talked about it, but I do hope we can get back to more of the community benefit side of things, of controlling the pace and scale of construction and diversion programs like we've already approved. So I'm hoping we can get more back to community benefit than commoditization of this program.
Yeah, I realize that some of the real estate agents perhaps enlisting it, but I think that if someone was listing the home without a demo permit, they could point to how easily and how cleanly the process has become. I do think this has helped regulate the pace of growth, and I do think that when we look at the traffic coming into Aspen in the morning with the number of construction and service vehicles and seeing those throughout the entire town, I do not want to turn the floodgates on again. I think our code allows the borrowing of future year allotments in other programs as well, whether it's affordable housing or residential development or things like that. So this is very consistent with that. I do think it's I'm still looking forward to our simplifications and what staff has been working on, but I am not feeling the same way. I think the desire to have unlimited demolition permits throughout town, just that you can sit there and bank them and say you have a demo permit whenever someone's going to offer you enough to sell. It's the definition of a termination community where you're only here until you can cash out and leave, and your home is worth this much once you can demo it. It's a community that is a termination community rather than investing in the future. So I'm okay with this. I lived through the pandemic and what was happening to our community then. I think we're still literally feeling the results of that growth spurge, that surge and wave of activity. But again, we just have differences of opinion on this. I respect where you guys are coming from, and I can understand that. Others have a comment. John?
Yeah, I just want to say this program has been difficult. It had a difficult rollout, but I believe in the intent of it. And I know we enacted this in order to slow the pace of scraping perfectly good homes to be replaced with something larger. That's what the community voiced their opinion about it, and so they were tired of it, and that's why it led to where we are now.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question of both of you? I think you both sort of generally alluded to the same thing, saying that you believe that this has slowed the pace and scale of development. Not verbatim, but more or less. Is that accurate?
I like to think so.
Okay. What evidence do you have of that?
I just look at the turnover that we were experiencing during the pandemic, and I look at the rate of demolition. I look at the pent-up demand of everyone seeming to want to buy into Aspen for a part-time home, for not a year-round home, for homes that demand more services than actually a living resident would demand. I think we do not have the tools we might like to have for maintaining a community character and quality of life, but to see everything flipping at once or everything flipping in a 2 or 3 year time period as we did before, I think is not a healthy community. And
I understand the feelings, but again, what evidence do you have that this program has slowed the pace or scale of development or the rate of demolitions?
Well,
I don't know if there's any evidence that we could find that would support that, because it's based on an alternate reality, right?
It's like the mustard seed doesn't grow here and the mustard seed does grow here. It's very hard to say if the mustard seeds would have grown the same in different soils. But, the real estate community says that they're seeing a bit of a slowdown now, and the pace is off from last year and the year before. Maybe that's a little bit of the evidence. I don't know if that's national or if it's interest rates or if...
I think you're conflating sales activity with demolition and development activity. And I think, hopefully, Ben, in our work session, you can provide historical data of rates of actual executed demolitions over the last 10 years, because I think you've actually caused the opposite effect. I think you've encouraged people to demolish more than they would naturally without this program. I think that's what the data will show. I think that building permit activity has increased since you enacted this program. So I think, like what I keep saying, I think that this has accomplished the opposite. There's no data or evidence supporting the intent of the program. I understand your intent. I understand the emotions that led to you creating this program. I think it's creating the opposite effect, and that's one of several reasons why I think this is a bad and broken program. So I think that you will see, and if you want to ask the questions about the actual effects, the tangible effects of this program, I think you will see that it's causing a lot of unnecessary stress with zero community benefit.
Well, I would say that, and I don't have numbers to support this, but again, I like to think that some people are, instead of scraping their complete home as they used to do, they are following some of the guidelines and leaving some walls standing and some foundations intact, so they won't suffer the consequences of having to go through the process of getting a demo permit. That keeps materials out of our landfill. The greenest building is the one that's already built. If it's half built, that's still a savings of the environment.
Do you have any examples of projects?
You know, guys,
Not.
we're getting way off track for what this item is.
Yeah,
So I think we've called for a work session. We're going to go forward with that. With the Affordable Housing Credit Program, we are hearing updates at some point in the future about the simplification administrative policies on the demolition program, but we are really drifting off of the agenda and the actual item in front of us. So,
Apologies, would you accept the motion?
yes, I would.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 98, Series of 2026.
Second.
Okay, thank you for the motion and the second. Nicole, will you call the roll? Further discussion from anyone else? Will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much. And that does conclude our regular agenda for tonight. We would now be going into an executive session. I will let our city attorney make the citations appropriately. We will not be returning to this room to close the meeting after the executive session. We will be going to a different meeting room so that we can let Grassroots TV go home. But please, Kate, if you'll tell us what and why we're going to executive session here.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is requesting an executive session this evening pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute, Section 24-6-402, subsection 4, subsection B, conferences with an attorney for the local public body, for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions, and subsection 4, subsection E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. The specific items of discussion involve the following. Pitkin County request for funds. The discussion will involve legal opinions from the city attorney and water council regarding related water rights matters, the city's water rights portfolio, protections of municipal water resources, and strategy considerations. Second item, for purposes of receiving legal advice from the city attorney concerning a request to display art on construction fencing. So those are the two items we're requesting executive session on. And again, we do keep recordings of these issues. They will not be, they will be kept for not less than 90 days and held by the city clerk.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion along the lines of our city attorney's citations to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes, thank you. So we are in executive session now, and we'll be leaving the room. Thank you, Grassroots. We always appreciate your service.